Hello and welcome to the AI Advantage Show, episode 13. And we've got an exciting show for you today. We're your hosts, Colin Lepiscopo and Kim Reynolds, and we're here to equip marketers and professionals like you with the insights and connections needed to gain the competitive edge with AI. On today's episode, we're unpacking the latest AI trends and discussing how you can drive business success with AI by building a team that delivers results. That sounds great to me. Kim, who do we have?
So we have Bryan McAnulty, and he is the founder of Heights Platform, which is a very cool all-in-one AI-powered online course and community creation software. And it has the first autonomous coach, AI coach, that lets creators in more than 100 countries build their own knowledge businesses. So he's been on an entrepreneurial journey since early 2000s when he founded a company called Valora, and it's a digital product design studio. And so he likes to travel, and it's really interesting how he's brought little bits that he's learned from entrepreneurs all over the world and used it to make this amazing platform. So, welcome,
Very
Brian.
cool. Awesome.
Thanks,
Welcome.
guys. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Great. Well, I know we've got a lot to unpack, and definitely want to learn more about your platform as well. But let's just get right into this. As like, what are some critical factors here for businesses that they need to consider? Like when we're talking about building like an AI ready team that delivers results. That sounds like a monumental task and a lot of risk and potentially a lot of financial risk as well. Like hiring people and using tools and so
Sure.
like, what's
Well,
the
well,
first
to
step with
be
all that?
to be clear, the goal is, of course, I think every business eventually makes sense to have people involved too, but the goal is to have an AI team. So
Mhm.
instead of having to go out and hire a virtual assistant, a coach, things like that, why not have AI do that for you? And so that was kind of the thinking with Heights platform. We realized having thousands of course creators we've been helping build courses, communities, coaching services over the years, that the first two people usually you want to hire is a virtual assistant and a coach. And so we thought, well, how can we better support our creators and build an AI assistant for them and an AI coach? So I can get into more details of exactly how that works later on, but essentially the idea of the AI team, I think most people approach AI in the wrong way. And they say like, how can I use AI? And they treat it like a Google search where they're asking it for information. And the better way to use it is to have it use its reasoning capabilities to make decisions and be able to reason on that rather than using the knowledge that it has. Because we all know now you try to ask it something and sometimes it looks plausible, but it's just completely wrong. But if you instead give the AI all of this process and the task where you're giving it the right context and telling it, hey, use this and go through this process, similar how you would write a process out for a teammate or like an SOP, then we found that the AI performs really well at that. And that's often where you get the most value as well, because you can go on Google and search something. You can ask the AI something like that, of course, but when you have this process that now instead of having a person do it, you can have AI help with that. That's something that we just could never do before.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. So instead of kind of just querying it, right, and getting a result, you're kind of running it through a process that something you would normally maybe train a team member on. Um,
Exactly. Yeah. So if you've hired people already, if you have written like a standard operating procedure, an SOP, then I think you're already in a really good position to leverage AI, because what's great is you just get to communicate with it using English. You don't have to
Yeah.
use software or programming. And so that's been so incredible for our team that I've been having everybody on our team write prompts and everything, even if they're not like a technical role, because it's something now everybody can contribute to this without having to be, oh, I'm not a software developer or something like that. And really, like, the necessary ingredient is just giving the AI context. And most people treat AI as if it's already supposed to know things, but you have to imagine that it has no context about you at all. And
Mhm.
mm,
so a lot of people, like, the analogy I like to use, it's like going to somebody off the street and saying like, hey, do this thing for me. But they don't even know, like, it's different from like you asking the person on the street or you asking somebody who works in your company. Because the person who works in your company, even if you never trained them on that thing before, they already have the context. This is what the company does. I work at
Yep.
this company, all of this kind of thing.
Hmm.
The AI knows nothing. It's starting from a point of zero. And so people forget, I think, to give it that context. But it's tedious as well to have all that documented and say, like, this is the kind of thing I need help with. This is what your task is going to be. Here's the background information. Here's how you should handle it. Here's what you should not do. This is what I expect as a response. And so I can go over, if you guys would like a formula that we like to use for writing a prompt that includes those things. But what we've actually been doing is, I was so excited when the GPT builder came out on Dev Day from OpenAI, and I was fortunate that I think was probably the first person to know about it, because in the end of October, I saw the prompt for how the GPT builder would work got leaked into my ChatGPT account. I just happened to see it, and I posted about it on Twitter because I didn't see anybody else noticed it. And then a week later, they announced it. And I'm so glad, because that embodies kind of the idea that I'm talking about, that you can build an AI team. And that's like the concept of this GPT builder, that you can tell, like, this is what I need help with, and construct like a custom GPT that understands what it's supposed to do and then has the knowledge to reference in order to do that.
I
Yeah.
think one of the things that people don't understand, or where they need help understanding, is how AI can actually help them do things. Like you're saying, have an AI assistant instead of a virtual assistant, or have an AI coach instead of a coach.
Yep.
And but I still think people are not making the connection between what AI actually can do for them and what they can hand over and automate, or if you want to call it automating. Um, can you talk a little bit about that, and like the types of things that you can have a
Sure.
chat GPT
Yeah.
or tool do?
Yeah, I agree. That's definitely kind of where the challenge is having to figure that out for yourself and your business. And one of the things now is we've realized, and what OpenAI has given, is now you can have the AI connected to tools. So of course it can respond with text, but if it can access these tools in some way, it can do a little bit more than that. And in the case of Heights AI and Heights platform, what we've built, we have Heights AI Chat, which is your AI assistant. And besides answering a question about like how to find a button inside the interface of what to do, so like, yeah, it knows our knowledge like that, but we've also trained it that it's able to actually make edits to your products for you. So you can ask it, take my guitar course, set it to published, have it launch in 30 days, and make the price $200. And then it will be able to find that. It knows what that means. And then it will show you, hey, here's what I'm going to do. Does that sound good? And then you just click OK. So you don't even have to learn software anymore. I think this is going to be something that it's relatively unique to our product right now, but I think it's going to be really common across software products in the future, that you don't have to learn it. You don't even have to ask the AI how to use it. You can just ask the AI to do it for you. And that's the part that for us is like having our virtual assistant. The next part is Heights AI Coach, where the problem with ChatGPT is you can ask it, hey, be my coach. You're going to be an expert coach to help me out. But often when you need help from someone like a coach, part of the problem is you don't know the questions that you even have to ask to get that right feedback. And so Heights AI Coach is built from us going and coaching our creators to build their courses and communities. And we built this process with this autonomous agent where we're taking the OpenAI GPT-4 APIs and then using those, where we're giving our AI coach all the context of all the courses that you build. And then what it does is, instead of you asking it to be my coach or ask a question, it's going to actually ask you questions and find out, like, what have you been working on the last week? What's your business model? What's your social media following? What's some things that you're struggling with? And then it's going to take all that information and learn about what you've been doing inside your account. And then every week it'll give you tasks and recommendations of what you can work on next. And it actually sends those to you in an email as well, which is my favorite part about it, because you just get to wake up in the morning and you get an email from your coach, but it's not a real coach, it's an AI coach. So that's how it works in Heights. But applying that to ChatGPT, let's say you want to build your own GPTs, right? So for that, as you said, the challenge is, okay, if somebody develops something, you can connect all these tools and make it do something. But if I just want to build a GPT, how do I know what the AI can really assist with or not? And for that, we actually use GPTs to help us figure that out. So we built a new course. We just recently launched it about a week ago, actually, called AI Elevate. It's on creatorclimb.com is our kind of courses and training section. And what we did there is we made one GPT that will take whatever task you give it, and it will break it down into things that AI could potentially help with. And so like, let's say, for example, you say, I want to make a YouTube video. Well, AI is not going to like film you. Like you have to somehow be involved in that. But when you say, I want to make a YouTube video, it's going to list out all the things that it knows from its capabilities it would be able to help with. So that could be like reviewing a script, preparing a script, doing research on your audience, analyzing a past video you did, all that kind of thing. And it'll list those things out, and then you get to pick one of them, and it'll write actually a draft prompt for you based on like our prompt writing kind of guidelines that we've given it. And so what I would say to anybody else is you could try that. You could sign up for our course, but you don't have to do that. You could also just experiment with ChatGPT yourself. And essentially what that prompt is doing is it's letting it know, hey, you've got access to a browser, you can generate images, you can respond with text, and you have that code interpreter. So taking those tools, look at this task that I'm giving you, and then deconstruct that into things, a list of things that you might be able to help with, like subtasks for that.
That's
Really
fantastic.
cool.
I would never actually thought of asking GPT to tell me what it can do. I've asked it to ask me questions, but
Mhm,
like what are questions that you want answers to, but never like what can you actually do for me, which is fantastic.
mhm.
Wow.
Now, have
Yeah.
you had issues with like hallucinations and it saying it can do things it can't, or just the output not being accurate enough or not working
Yeah,
functionally?
so it depends on the prompt that you write it. It's all about the context that you give it first. And in that way, I think the way I like to think of it at least is that ChatGPT is like an instrument where you're using it in the right way to understand that the words that you put in is going to affect what you get out of it. And so that's where like you guys have probably heard and people watching or listening have probably heard the idea of like asking ChatGPT to say like you're an expert marketer or something like that and telling it that it's an expert. And the reason that actually people have found that it works is because with the large language models, they're looking into all this space of information. And when you say that it's an expert, it knows to go into that area of where is all the data that I have about what an expert would say. And so it's just essentially a trick of informing it that this is what it's supposed to look like. And we're not like role playing that it is, we just started doing this and it has no clue what it's doing. And that's also a reason that I think people struggle sometimes that it gives you a wrong answer, it hallucinates, and then you try to correct it and you go down this path that it just keeps getting worse or keeps being wrong. And that's because you're getting it into this state where it thinks like, okay, I'm the person who's wrong here. And so it just kind of keeps doing that in a way. And so you want to keep it in the state and framing of it being the expert or it being the assistant, whatever you potentially want help for. But in the case of what I just described, like we wrote out the prompt knowing these are all the things that you could do. And when you give it the context first, it's able to hallucinate way, way less and work a lot better knowing that like this is what it has to work with instead of just like, can you tell me what you can do? Then it might be much more likely to make up something.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've seen success with kind of like we have some tools where we're able to kind of build in the instructions, right? Build in that context, and that's
Yep.
some of the stuff I use all the time. It's like I'm never going to just go into the assistant mode. It's like I'm going to go into, I have one of my favorites is we've got our brand avatar Ada Astralis. So I've got like a personal assistant version that I use, and she knows all the context. She knows our business
Yep.
model, she knows what we do, and then she's got a little bit of the brand voice and flavor that we have. So, and knows that like her role as an assistant to try to, aid me in whatever I'm trying to accomplish. And so that's usually my go-to for most things because I'm going to get the responses that I need, right? That are actually kind of valuable. But kind of what you've built is really, really impressive, really exciting. And I do think that that's something that we're going to see in the future as, yeah, all these tools can kind of come together. But Man, yeah, I'd love to hear more about the platform, but I'm sure Kim's got some questions too. So before we dig
Well,
into that.
actually, that was my question. I was going to say that we've touched on capabilities of your platform, but we never really gave you an opportunity to fully introduce your platform and what it does. So,
Sure.
why don't you give us like an overview of what Heights platform does?
Sure. Yeah. So Heights Platform, we're an all-in-one online course creation and community building software. So if you want to teach something about how to play guitar, how to paint, anything like that, you can use Heights as the complete solution to build the course, have that area for students to go in and take it, and then accept payments for it, everything that you need to run your business. And so we see our software as having to do two things. One is we want to create a great learning experience. We're a little bit more focused on like the learning side than the marketing side. There's all kinds of like landing page builders out there and things of that nature, but we're focused on more like how can we improve how students learn, looking at the examples of you've got social media and everything out there that tries to keep your attention as good as possible, and they're optimizing it to keep you glued to that social media platform. We thought, well, why can't we apply some of those principles to learning to help you learn something that you want? So we're working on the learning side, but then also on the creator side, we want to help all of our creators succeed and be able to make a living doing what they enjoy. And so that's where really all the AI features came in. I'd like to see how we could implement some things on the learning end as well. But first thing is for the creators, giving them this AI assistant and AI coach in order to help them move forward. Because oftentimes our customers are ones that they have this skill, like they're expert digital marketer, expert musician, whatever it is that they want to teach about, but they're not necessarily like an expert instructional designer or an expert at technology. So we want to remove as many of the barriers for that as possible so that they can focus on doing what they enjoy.
That's really cool. Yeah, I've seen I think Masterclass has some of, or at least the idea, and I'm not sure how they've executed, but they definitely are on that vein as well as like, hey, we know that our users need a little bit of help with their course creation. Like I think they have a chat GPT persona or something that they use as like almost like a coach. Maybe you're familiar with this, that I know a friend was using. And I'd be interested to know, you talked about, hey, like all the algorithms, all the platforms, they're designed for time on platform, right? Keeping you engaged. And I know just statistically, most people do not finish courses. And so are some of the things you have designed, is this more for like, hey, we're just trying to help the creators get to the finish line? Like finish, like, is it sticking with and finishing a long project? Or do you actually have stuff for students of the courses that help keep them engaged and complete the courses?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have stuff for students as well. And that's things like gamification, like you can earn badges and points as you're going through the lessons. It's also part of just how we've structured the lessons and like what it contains, so that as a creator, you're not building out this complex thing and it's like, oh, there's 15 videos here, but this one has one video, and then it becomes a mess for
Gotcha.
the student to figure out.
Yeah.
But then we're also more focused on this idea of project-based learning because most of our creators are teaching some kind of creative subject, and that is this idea that you go through the course, and after you go through the course, we have a whole community area. We think that's a really important part of the whole experience, especially with AI, that the content, the things you can learn become easier to figure out, but having that community of like-minded people that you can connect with is really valuable. So this is a big part of what the creator can provide. But then after the course, we have this unique feature called projects. And let's say like you're building a course how to design a mobile app or how to launch your first mobile app. Then the project would be to launch your mobile app. And as a student, you go through the course and then you can go to that project and submit your work of what you've actually done. So that's your opportunity to actually put it in and say like, here's what I actually did as a result of this course. And other students are able to see that, they're able to comment on it, and they're able to vote on it. And so that becomes like this area after the course for students to kind of learn from each other and benefit there as well. But to the point about the completion rates, we do want to improve those. And it is true that like, yeah, 100% of students are not going to complete 100% of the course.
No way.
But in a lot of cases, it depends on the course. It depends on the price point of the course.
Sure.
But oftentimes
Yeah.
it's not really a bad thing because there's some people who will take your course and there's just that one piece of information that they need,
Hmm.
that's what's holding them back from getting to that next point. And if they
Right.
get that, that's what they wanted, and now they're set. So they don't need
Yep.
to go through the whole thing. There's other people where like they really will need that and they'll benefit from that. And ideally the goal is to get all of those people to go through the whole thing if that's what they need. But yeah, I think a creator shouldn't be discouraged if not 100% of people complete their course, because as long as they're getting the value out of it, then that's what's important. You want to make sure they're logging in, they're getting something from it.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, as long as they get the value, whatever that is for them.
Yeah, a lot of factors with that too. It's like, yeah, how big of the investment? So how much are they personally
Yeah.
invested, and
Yeah, like if
the
it's a
timing of it all.
$20 course and then you check it once after you buy it, then yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna
easy to
be
flake on.
probably a lower completion rate on that.
Sure, sure.
So when you were building the AI tools into your course, what was the most challenging aspect of that for you?
Think it was the AI coach, definitely, because that's something that's so unique. Most of the AI tools you see, like you have to communicate with them first. They're not running by themselves. And so there probably people listening or watching this, if you're really into AI, you've heard of things like Auto GPT and Baby AGI, of these agents that are able to run on their own. But most of them, the problem with them is they get stuck and then they just start repeating things and hallucinating. And so it's an interesting like proof of concept, but it doesn't really work yet to have like an autonomous agent AI that just works on itself indefinitely. But where that can work, we believe, is for these very specialized agents like Heights AI Coach, where it has a specific designed like designated role of what it's supposed to do, and it has this specific designed process, as opposed to like, here's your goal, go and figure it out and make a bunch of these AIs that keep going. And so we had to figure out, well, what are all the processes actually involved if we were going to coach something or coach somebody? What are the things that we need to know? What are the things that we need to answer? What are all those different pieces? So internally, the technology behind it, it's not just this AI coach, it's actually a few different roles all interacting with each other. So it is this mini, actually AI team of the one goes and collects information, the other one is analyzing the information, the other one is writing some things, and it was connecting all of those and figuring out where the pieces had to go. That was the biggest challenge, I think.
Really, really cool. What's like maybe some of the I know there's probably some people interested in, like, I'm like, ooh, what kind of course can I make? I want to go on here and try this
Mhm.
out. It's like the first thing I want to do. I'm sure Kim does too. And so like, are there courses that are off? Let's say I want to do I probably wouldn't do this because it'd be really challenging to actually get the project back. You'd probably have to do something in person. But let's say I'm gonna do a self-defense course or something, okay?
Hmm.
And what, like, is that off limits, or like what are the limits? And then can you share like a success story, one of the bigger success stories of a creator that's made a course on the Hype platform?
Sure. So for off limits, what do you mean by like just would there be a market for it, or is it something that really works? Or
Oh, I mean, maybe everything. Maybe you can do a course on anything. I don't know. I just didn't know if there was like, hey, is it more for creative endeavors like music and stuff, or
got
yeah,
it.
is it
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah. Actually, I'm glad you asked this because I want to address the maybe stigma about online courses where everybody thinks that there's all these courses about how to make courses. And I feel that you see a lot of that on X and on social media of people trying to sell you how to learn to make your own course, that kind of thing. And the good news is there are very few of those in reality compared to like the whole of course creators. And so the majority of course creators that we have, at least on Heights, are teaching about these different subjects. So yeah, you mentioned self-defense. Like we have a lot of martial arts courses actually, like Wing Chun and Tai Chi and all kinds of different things of people teaching those actually through an online course. In the case of fitness type courses usually end up being like a membership where like they'll teach you yoga or Tai Chi or something like that through a membership. But yeah, we've had all kinds of things that we've been surprised to see and surprised to see how successful they were. So things like horseback riding, even we saw like that was something I didn't expect there would be an online course for. But acupuncture, all kinds of things really. But as far as success stories, I think that something that can be inspiring to hear is that the number one reason we see creators fail with their course is not because they don't have like a good product, a good course. It's not because they have like bad branding. It's not because they have bad marketing. It's because they just failed to actually launch and get it out there. And we can point to an example of someone who's failed at all of those things. And as long as you get one of those things right, then you can have a successful course. And so one of the examples I've shared before on podcasts is that we had this one customer where he asked us questions quite a bit, and we saw he earned like over $100,000 in his first year making online courses. And we looked at his course, and the content, we assume the content is great. We can't read it. It's not in English, but the branding, as far as what he has, he never even changed like the color scheme or put his own logo. So it's like the default thing that when you sign up for a trial of Heights, it says Heights and it just has the default colors, but we let you customize your logo and color and all that. He never did that. And he earned over $100,000 in his first year. And I think that's such a great example because so many entrepreneurs are worried like, oh, I have to get my logo perfect. I have to get this thing perfect. And they worry about perfecting everything before releasing it. But the bigger risk is that you try to do that so long that you don't actually get something released. And so hopefully that can inspire some confidence in people who are holding back from releasing or building that product now. But we've also seen like, I think there's a stereotype that most people think like a digital marketing course or something like that's going to be the most popular. And while those kind of courses, they tend to sell well just because like it's directly tied somehow to the customer being able to make money from it. We've also seen courses where you would think it's way too small of a niche to make money and they're super successful. So one that we have a case study on our site, I'm so glad that she eventually talked with us to let us do this case study because at first she said like, oh, I'm not really into this whole marketing thing. I do this because it's fun. I don't want to like be like that. And we said like, no, we really want to talk to you because you're the perfect example of our creators that you're not like this marketer. You're really a creator yourself. And what she does is she teaches the music theory for the hammered dulcimer. And I'm a musician myself. You can see I've got guitars here in the background. I didn't even know what the hammered dulcimer was. And it's this kind of almost like a xylophone, but with strings that you're hammering. And so you would think like the average person off the street, I think would assume, oh, well, this course, like how much money really can that make? But like she's making a full-time income with this course about music theory for the hammered dulcimer, which is a really niche thing. So I thought that was really interesting.
That's really cool.
That's
Yeah.
incredibly niche.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, sometimes there's power in that though, right? That's those people who play the hammered dulcimer, which I think I've seen one before, but I definitely didn't know what it was. You know, it's like, yeah, that they're looking for nothing else, and there probably aren't a whole lot of courses on that, is my guess. So,
Yeah.
very, very cool. Has there been, so I know you talked about, hey, there's lots of tools out there for landing page, lots of things like that. So the people that are successful on your platform, do they already have kind of an established, notoriety in their field, or do they have, good marketing and a good platform already, or are they just able to be successful without any of that? Like, do they need an email list? Do they need a social following, or can you actually do this without any of those things?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. I think that you have to inevitably build an audience at some point, but we have a mix of people. I think like half of our customers is their first time trying to sell something online. Half of them are more established already. But for those who are more established already, sometimes, yeah, they have a website already. While Heights can create web pages for you, you can make your website and blog all on Heights. Some people, they have their own WordPress site or something like that, and then they sell their courses, their community on Heights. And so that's one side. I guess newer creators will tend to try to do everything in Heights because they didn't already have an established site before. I would say that it's hard to tell sometimes because sometimes also like the more established creators like already have some other checkout or store and they sell through that, but then they just enroll people into Heights. And so we don't get like the full data to know the full picture in that case. But for newer creators, you will eventually need to build some kind of audience. The best way to kind of communicate with them is going to be through an email list. Usually the sending the email to somebody is what is going to get them to buy rather than them seeing a social media post or something like that. And so if I were starting out today, I would prioritize that email list. Don't try to get everybody to buy a course right away or subscribe to even you want them to subscribe to the email list even more than being a social media follower. And so you don't need a big social media following, but you do want to have people on your email list because those are going to be the people who will give you that early feedback, be those early customers, and then give you those early testimonials, which you can use to then put on your site, and then it grows and grows from there. But yeah, so I would say email list is important. If you already have a social media following, then that's excellent. I think the majority of people, they have less of a following and are trying to build the product and then build the following along with that. It is good if you start building it either right before or during rather than waiting until after, because that can be hard with your motivation that you've built this course and now you've got to go and do all the marketing. But there are some people out there too that like a YouTuber where you have this giant following already and you haven't actually monetized it as much as you could, where most YouTubers could probably make a lot more money off of courses and products that they build rather than sponsorships or YouTube revenue.
Yeah, great input. Yeah, no, definitely, I agree. There's probably a lot of content creators who, like, just haven't pulled the plug on that yet, and maybe they're trying to perfect it. But I love that there's the guy with the stock logos, man, out there crushing it. It's like maybe you could do one with like your logo here and just see like, hey, will this sell? Like just got a placeholder. That's so
Yeah.
cool, man. I love
Well, yeah.
doing
In
stuff
his
like
case,
that.
like I mentioned, the three things. So like you've got your branding, you've got your marketing, you've got the product itself. And so I'm guessing like his product itself, it must be really great that
Yeah,
people love it because they keep buying it and everything. And so
yeah.
for them, they don't really care about the brand. If he had all three of those things, if he had a
Mhm.
great brand too, it would probably help him. He probably should do
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can make an excellent product and focus on that and then attract people to it, then that's all you need.
Did his coach not tell him to add logos and brand?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm not sure if he's using the AI coach feature
Yeah,
actually, because
that's
yeah,
funny.
his content is mostly in Chinese, but yeah, that's interesting. I should check that. I wonder if
I'm
he's been
just
using the
curious,
coach.
yeah.
The
Like
coach
step
experience
one,
has
put in a logo.
been yeah, the coach experience has been very interesting because we have like a feedback loop process that if the creator says like, hey, my coach is kind of going off track, I'm really focused on this right now, they can tell us through our support and we can add notes internally for their coach specifically. And so the coach kind of acts as a member of our support team in that way as well. And it was really interesting that we had a call with our one of our creators recently. She said she's been using it and we were trying to get feedback of how we could improve it. And she said she's like 70% towards her goal since she's been using it, which sounds awesome. And then we're trying to ask her about like the feedback and the tasks it's given her so far. And she says, I thought you guys already like knew all that. I thought you were reading through everything because it was like so accurate. We said, no, we didn't look at it yet. It was just the coach. It was just the AI.
So cool. Yeah,
And so yeah, that was really neat to hear.
that's awesome.
Oh, wow. So you have a podcast, The Creator's Adventure, and it's all about turning passion into success. How would you advise businesses to harness AI along with their passion, aligned with their passion to develop better results?
I would say that like for those out there who are kind of more against AI and thinking like, oh, I don't want AI to be writing my content or things like that. Like that's not what I would suggest either. Like your unique message and what you have to share, your experiences, especially as like a course creator, that's what's the most valuable. So you don't want AI to like make all of the content for you, but it's better to envision it as this tool that can augment what you can do. So it can help you do things faster and like the ability for it to make decisions and help review things, that's really where I think so much of the power is. I was talking to my teammate earlier today and I said I wish somebody would build like a ChatGPT tool where we could just have it on this call with us, and anytime we're trying to make a decision about something, it'll just write out like all the pros and cons. And I think like that kind of thing is really helpful, just to think of places that are repetitive tasks in your business, think of places where you get stuck on decisions, because often as a creator, as a business owner, a lot of the time in between like trying to start something and then actually building it, it's not just the time of building it. I think the majority of the time is the points between building it where we get stuck on some kind of decision. And if ChatGPT or whatever, if you can give it the context and it can help you make all those decisions faster, that alone will help really speed you up.
Absolutely. That's my big use case for sure.
You,
Like, yeah.
oh, sorry. Well, Colin and I both did a course on creating courses, and which was interesting. It was more of like a little boot camp thing, not really a full course. But is it fair to say that Heist platform you can actually go and create a course without needing to know how to create a course? It's the coach is going to walk you through all the steps of creating your course, so you can go in with only knowledge of your special skill and not course creation.
Almost. I think the coach is more designed for like the marketing and the growth,
Mm,
and the AI chat, I'd say AI chat is more like the assistant, so that can help you. It's not going to give you every step by step because the AI chat more you still have to ask it something. And so we have our own training content as well. We are thinking about maybe can we improve Heights AI chat to make it fully do that, where it can kind of reference our course content and then tell you the exact next thing to do. So I think that would be neat. But yeah, it is getting very close to that point where you don't have to learn the software, you don't have to learn the technology. We have what it can do is it can do an AI course draft for you. So you say, this is my course, this is what I want to make it about. It'll give you feedback on the title. It'll describe based on our rules, like what should be maybe clarified about it, what could be more enticing. Then it'll give you your curriculum outline of lessons and modules. And then it'll give you an example description. It'll even go and find like a cover image stock photo for you to put in. And then it'll start you right there at a starting point where now you don't have to think of like, well, what would all the lessons be? You can have this starting point from AI that now you can go and edit and finish and put all the actual content into.
Very cool. Yeah.
that's
Okay.
really
So it
cool.
gives you kind of an initial structure, an initial maybe
Yeah.
starting point. Yeah. Okay.
This is my favorite question. So, given everything that you know about AI, what kind of predictions do you have for next year about AI
Mm.
and its usage,
Yeah. I think it's
usability?
good. It's going to be crazy next year. Already like this, it's what, about a year now that ChatGPT has actually been released. So next year, I think is going to be really insane because the majority of tools that people used this year were still actually GPT 3.5 based. They were not GPT-4 because GPT-4 came out in like, I guess, March. And then a lot of developers had to wait to get access to the API keys. And then even after they got access, there was really heavy rate limits. So most production applications were not actually able to give GPT-4 to their customers because there just wasn't enough capacity. Now that's changing. Now we've got the GPT-4 Turbo, which the other problem was like, oh, it can't remember enough. It was
Right.
the 8K context most people had. Now it's 128,000 tokens. And so I think there will be tons and tons created in the next year, and also more of these like autonomous agent type ideas, like what we built with Heights AI Coach, I think will become more popular as like what everyone built this year is now kind of possible with GPTs in a lot of ways. And the next step is like, okay, you've trained this GPT that it knows how to work in certain ways. Well, what if the GPT could work on its own?
Very, very cool. Yeah, some of these tools we've been fortunate enough to have access to and been using now for several months, and kind of feel like, okay, cool. Like this hasn't even been released yet with ChatGPT, and so and it sounds like you've been doing a lot of the same, where you're developing these things that like, hey, other people haven't even started on stuff like this yet. But I agree with you. I very much can see this is something that like almost any software as a service where they can use some sort of assistant in there, like that could save them millions of dollars on like just support alone, right? If
Yeah,
there's like an actual, AI that can help them solve all these problems or direct them where to go or what to do or the next steps,
yeah, 100%.
onboarding. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can say we haven't fired any of our support people, and we are a small team compared to most
Yeah.
companies. But the role of our support has definitely shifted now from previously like answering all the questions to now we get logs of what Heights AI chat says in our Slack. And if somebody gives it a bad rating or if it can't answer something, then our support team goes and looks at that and then updates the knowledge for our AI so it can do better in the future. So we're constantly improving that. And then what's nice is now the actual questions we get are like the more complicated ones where we can really like dig into helping somebody rather than like where do I find this button or that repetitive
Right.
stuff.
Very cool.
Well, since you love to travel and you've been to a lot of different places. I'm really curious. I kind of understand AI, the AI market, or how the US is adopting AI. What about the rest of the world? Where are they in AI adoption?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know if I've traveled quite enough this year to know for certain. I spent a couple months in Asia this year actually, um, in Hong Kong and Japan. We flew our team out to Tokyo just in October for our annual team meetup. And Japan, ChatGPT and all the AI, that's a lot of big talk about it there. A lot of developers seem interested in it there. In some other countries, I think it's not quite yet. Like I guess in one sense, in Japan, it was going faster than here in that like there were commercials that were talking about AI all the time, which I don't feel I've seen quite that much here in the U.S. But undoubtedly, like here, we've got Silicon Valley, we've got all the tech companies and everything building. So I think the U.S. is definitely at the forefront of everything right now with that. I think Europe is a little bit behind. There's so much development talent there, but they've got all the regulations and the privacy that they're working and trying to figure out, which I agree is very important. I guess I would say that if I had to pick countries that maybe are not going as fast, it would be like maybe Australia and South America right now. But I'm not sure for 100% there.
Yeah, and United Arab Emirates, they've just came under scrutiny. I think the CIA is now watching them because
Mm.
I think it's G42 is what it's called. And it's potentially could be sharing data with China. So they're like, wait a second, hold on. So I know that they've got some stuff in Abu Dhabi as well. So cool.
Well, you're kind of, am I muted? No. Okay. You're kind of unique in that you are a creator and a creative, and kind of like our friend Dustin, who started Magi.co. He's also very much a creative that knows technology and has been able to put it together. How do you see AI impacting creatives in the future? Do you think that it's going to make them easier to, or more valuable for human creation? Like, let me rephrase this question. Do you think that, like, in the future, human produced art will have a higher value than AI produced art simply because it's less common now that everybody can create artwork?
Yeah, it's so hard to tell with that, I think, in a way. I think the what we see as art and how creators create in that sense is going to change. And definitely because like AI augments so many things, and we've seen that where originally a few years back we would all say like, oh well, AI won't replace the art creative stuff. It's going to replace the boring manual labor, and we're seeing kind of the opposite. So even just today, I saw Pika Labs that has like an update to their AI video that you can take any video you already have and then like select a part, put sunglasses on the person in the video, or change their shirt. Which I can't believe that. Like at the beginning of this year, you would say, "Oh, AI video is not there yet," and like already it's growing so fast. Same with images. There's now the tools you can draw, and then on the iPad or on your computer, and it makes the AI version. So I think that it's really going to augment creators to build more. I don't know in the case of like just like art, like a painting or something, how that would be affected. But where I think it's going to be the most interesting is there's now the potential for the individual creator to build this whole world essentially that they couldn't do before. Where now you could say like, okay, I am an artist, or I am a musician, or I'm building software. And now you can say, okay, I want to have a character behind that. I want to have music behind it. I want to have videos and all these other things that you'd have to hire other people or have this big team to help you build. Now you can do that yourself with AI, and really anything you can imagine, you can really create for it. So I think that's where the most interesting things are going to come up. Seeing creators where it's this individual creator builds this entire world and brand around whatever it is they're doing.
Very, very cool. Sounds very exciting.
Well, what I was wondering is, with being able to make your own GPTs and having everybody having that ability, do you think there's going to be like a market for, oh, well, I created this GPT that's specific to this particular task or industry or something like that? And then they become their own softwares in a way, like you'd sell it like a program.
Yeah,
or
I think that's
offers a
going to be what
service.
the marketplace is, right?
Yeah. I think the GPT store idea is kind of like that. We've seen some interesting ideas. I'm not the one who came up with this, but we started doing it in the GPTs that we're making too, where you can say to it in the prompt, like, hey, go and put a link to our site when you respond to the person and use it kind of as a lead magnet or a marketing tool. And so, like, we built one for our podcast where we gave it our podcast transcripts. You can ask about it. And we just told it in the prompt, we said at once per conversation, don't do it more than once per conversation, but once per conversation, tell the person to go check out our Spotify and Apple podcast link for our podcast. And so I could see a lot of people building things for the GPT store that are specialized like this. Um, but in any case, yeah, I think this specialization is the best path forward for most businesses who want to get involved and like monetize AI in some way, because the very general tools, those have definitely like a limited time frame of when they're going to be useful. Like we had all these like chat with PDF tools, which now can still differentiate themselves and everything, but now you can build a GPT to do that in like a second, and you don't need a separate service to do that. So I think a more specialized service of like maybe like chat with PDF, but it's specifically for legal documents or finance or something like this, where there's a lot of potential there.
I kind of want to, I know we're kind of getting close to time here, but I kind of want to kind of pull back. I don't know, pull back, or maybe this is a completely different rail. Okay. But
Mhm.
if you're like a business that's, because I'm just thinking of like business owners who are like, okay, look, I haven't even touched ChatGPT. I barely know what's going on. I need to learn AI. Like, what would be your guidance for like a business owner or an entrepreneur, or even a marketer that's like, okay, I gotta figure this out in 2024. Like, I know I do. What do I do?
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
Well, I would say first, definitely get a ChatGPT Plus subscription, because if you've tried it once and you just used the free version, like GPT-4 is so much better than the free version.
Agreed. Yeah.
And do that and then try to use it for things. Try to experiment with it, get familiar with how it's going to respond, what you can do with it, and thinking of it as a tool in that way. So you can build a habit for yourself to start learning about the ways you can use it more. And
Hmm.
as far as writing prompts, like the tip I can give for everybody is you want to give it the important context. And the structure that we teach everyone is the first thing you do is you write out the general instructions. You define like what is this GPT or chat GPT even, like it's an assistant, it's a coach, what is it supposed to do? And then after that, you write out all the guidelines, all the context that it needs to know. So, what are the rules? How is it supposed to respond? What is its actual task? And just write it the same way you would write to a human. We like to use Markdown format, where like a lot of note-taking apps can use that, because that's something that GPT can understand as well. Like in Markdown, you have like the pound sign and then a space in your text. That's like a heading. And so if you take that, copy it from your notes app, like GPT understands, oh, this is a heading too. And you've got like your bulleted lists, like it understands that's a list. So you give it those rules of guidelines next. And then after that, you give it the response format. And this is something I think a lot of people forget. They tell it how to act, they tell it this is the rules of what you're supposed to do, but then they just let it go. But you want to give it a response format and describe to it what you expect back. And that might be a list of things, that might be a couple paragraphs. It might be more specific, where you say, like, I want you to first give me like a brief overview, and then I want you to make a table of this information, and then after that do this. And the same way you would expect a employee or someone working with you to give them that process of what that final output's supposed to be like, you should do that with ChatGPT as well. And then the last step is, this is not 100% necessary, but it can really help. And if you wrote something maybe not perfect in the first few steps, you can clarify all that by giving it response examples. So what I mean by that is taking one of the questions or tasks that you would give it, you write that in, say like user, and then say what you would write. And then you say like assistant or response, and then you write out the actual response exactly as you would want the AI to write a response for that particular thing. And now ChatGPT knows, oh, this is exactly how I'm supposed to act. This is the way that you expect the response to be. And that can really make a big difference. So think of it like that, and start practicing writing all these things out. If you haven't documented in your business like a operating procedure for different things, do those things now and just try pasting them into AI and see how they work.
That's great. Yeah, I think that's a great first step, and I love how you broke down that kind of the prompt. I agree. There a lot of people leave a lot to be desired with prompts. They're just missing some of those key elements, including the response format. Which you're like, wait, this isn't the output I wanted. It's like, well, you didn't tell them, and
Yep.
and even just like as it would be like a team member, right? If you don't get the deliverable you were expecting, it's like, okay, well, let's go back to the instructions. Was that clear, right? And so it's even more
Yeah.
so with the AI because it just doesn't have all the context and all those
Yeah.
things you'd
My
expect.
my secret tip for that, one of my favorite like prompts, is not complicated at all. It's just you put in your prompt, your instructions, and you say like from this text above or below, like identify anything that's potentially ambiguous or unclear and let me know what that is. And then
Yeah,
it's
I
going to
like
tell
that.
you what might be misinterpreted, and then you can go and fix it.
Yeah, yeah. Like, what's missing here? What else do you need to know to do that? Yeah, very
Yeah.
cool. Awesome. Well,
Whoops, muted.
yeah.
So I've pretty much had all my questions answered. Do you want to take a minute to let people know where they can find you and how they can try out your platform and yeah, get them started?
Sure. Yeah. So we've got a free community called creatorclimb.com that's built on Heights platform. So if you want to get an idea of what Heights platform looks like and what it can do, I would recommend signing up for that at creatorclimb.com. And that is also where we have our just released AI course. It's called AI Elevate. It's only $99. And in that, we teach you how to leverage AI in your business and build this AI team, how to build these GPTs. And we give you these example GPTs like the ones that will actually help you break down of what you could build your own custom GPT to do and to review your prompts, things like this. And if you want to try out Heights Platform, if you're a course creator, community builder, we've got a 30-day free trial at heightsplatform.com. No credit card required. That's got Heights AI Chat and Heights AI Coach. You've got full access to both of those things in that free trial as well.
Very, very cool.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
excited to look at both of these. Yeah, thanks so
Oh,
much. This is
I know
great.
I'm already thinking about the course.
Yeah, we're like,
Cool.
we're gonna go make some courses.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to make the craziest course ever and not put any logos on it and see if it'll make $100,000.
Make it in
No,
Chinese.
that's yeah, but it needs to be in Chinese. I think that's what it is. Very, very cool. Would love to hear more if you've continued. I'm sure you're going to continue to innovate and make advancements that are going to be relevant to other business owners and people with software and stuff like that. So, would love to have you back on in the future. This was great. Thank you for the insight.
Yeah, sure. I love it. Thanks.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Brian.
Take care. Wow, very cool. Kim, don't go crazy. I know you want to like go headfirst into these platforms because I do too.
Well, I was just thinking that it's, he said it doesn't do everything for you. Like you have to provide some of your own structure, but it can help you so much because course creation is not easy. And,
No,
you know, the content, like for me, the content that I want to teach, I know very well, but I'm just, you know, new at course creation. So I think this is a platform that would really, really help me and people like
yeah,
me.
yeah, absolutely. So, and if you're interested in how to kind of build out more personas, your own chat GPTs, things like that, you can do that. So you can actually go to aiadvantageagency.com/magi and get a free trial there and you can check it out. And if you're interested, you can actually reach out to us too. We'll show you how you can build these personas. We built personas for brands. They use that for all their content generation. And it's, some people have said it does better than their content writers. So, not saying it replaces them. It still needs to be guided, but they do. They are very impressed with the output. So, go to aiadvantageagency.com/magi to check that out. So, awesome. A lot of exciting things today.
I
Anything you
learned a
have to
lot.
add, Kim?
No, nothing to add really at this point. I think that you've already let people know
Cool.
about AI Advantage Agency, and we're there if you need us.
Absolutely.
But we also have a lot of free resources for people. We have
We
the
do.
AI Prompt Exchange, which you can go in and search for prompts. They're all marketing prompts. There's over 2,000 of them, but they're all focused on marketing. So you can go in if you're new to prompting. This will help you give you, um, a base to start from. And Then we also have the AI Tools Hub, and that is a searchable database of AI tools. So go in there, search for whatever you need to accomplish, and it will bring up a tool for you.
Very cool. Great resources for you guys.
It's all
That's all
free.
for today. I think we're here next week. I think we might be. I think we're here all through the month of December. So
We
yeah,
are, and
yeah,
January.
yeah.
So
So we'll see you guys. We'll see you guys next week, same time, same place. Thanks.
bye,
Take care.
everyone.